I've been playing on 2B2T consistently since late 2016, and when I first started playing, I started out like most players did, spawning in for the first time, escaping spawn, and walking farther and farther away. After this point, most players would either get bored or get tired of the lag and just leave the server forever. But I decided to stick around, regardless of the low TPS and constant disconnects. In the early days of my time on 2B2T, I stayed at my permanent base, hundreds of thousands of blocks away from spawn. I would occasionally go back and forth to spawn, but for the most part, I was at the base. It did feel like home, but it was lonely. Now at the time, I never really considered joining any groups on 2B2T, as I thought being alone on the server was the best approach. That was the case until one day. I was wandering around spawn when I was approached by a geared player. He seemed to be pretty friendly, and sent me a private message inviting me to join a Discord server of a new group on 2B2T, The Last Templar. Now keep in mind, this is when my YouTube channel had only a few hundred subscribers and a handful of videos. I wasn't known by really anyone in the 2B2T community, plus I wasn't even using my main account. I was actually using my alt account, Wikipedia, and with that account name, I guess explains the reason why he PM'd me. Anyways, I joined their voice chat and started talking to the people that would actually end up becoming some of my best friends on 2B2T, King Aurelius, Mactonite, and Gender Pretender. A few days later, I became an official member of the group, and I was invited to their spawn base. This was a very early time in the group. Nobody really had much of any significant amounts of wealth or duped items. Everybody either got their stuff from other groups, random drops, or from actually grinding the items. That was until one of the members of the group somehow got his hands on coordinates to a dupe stash. Immediately, the group members and I rushed over there to see if it was actually real, and sure enough, it was. Never have I seen that many shulkers and chests filled with maxed armor, swords, tools, end crystals, and god apples, and it was all right there for the taking. After we got our hands on those items, the group immediately started rising up, and that's when we started our first major group base, Costco. The original intention of the base was for it to house all of our recently obtained wealth. I was the head architect of the main structure, being a replica of an actual Costco store. Bulk items, food court and all. This was as close to a real Costco as you can get in Minecraft. But something was still missing, a parking lot. So I decided to start building an enormous parking lot in front of the Costco, as I thought it would nicely fit in with the theme of the build. However, there was a small obstruction, Vanex's tower. So I just built around it. No problem at all. Vanex never really stressed much objection to the parking lot to me, so I started building it anyway. This ended up being a very, very bad idea that ended up costing the group our base. A few weeks later, a base member logged on to some unexpected and uninvited visitors at the base. Shortly after, they started destroying it. At the time, we had no idea who these people were and how they got the coordinates to the base. But after interrogating the griefers, they fessed up to saying it was actually Vanex who leaked it. This was completely unexpected. Vanex has been a longtime friend of the leader of the Last Templar, Aurelius. Never would we have thought that he would be the one to leak the base. After this ordeal, Vanex was removed from the group, and he ended up leaving 2B2T, never to return. As a replacement base for our loss, the higher-ups in the group decided to create a new base, but this time, it would be extremely far out, in the millions, and the players that had access to this base would be extremely limited. A few of us started building out there, but only for so long. Players in the group that were never invited to the base felt left out, and the players that were at the base kind of got tired of building and of 2B2T in general. Worst of all, one of the top leaders of the group and one of my best friends, Mactonite, vanished out of thin air. No responses to DMs, nothing. This was the beginning of dark times for the Last Templar. Things got so bad that the group was eventually disbanded. During that time, I didn't really know what to do or where to go. 2B2T kind of seemed like it was dying too, with its much lower player count than the days of the Russian invasion. Regardless, I pushed on, and I decided to apply to the group Imperium, as that's where a few of the remaining Templar members went. But after joining, something just didn't seem right. It wasn't really what I expected out of a group. But then, the unexpected happened. I got invited to a small group called the Spawn Masons, as at the time, they just started up their group again after a long time of inactivity. The members were friendly, inviting, and most of them were pretty active. This group was a keeper. However, this still wasn't the end of the Last Templar. Sure enough, the group eventually got back together, and Aurelius himself made me one of the top leaders in the group. This was when 2B2T and Minecraft really started to pop off in popularity again, and the morale of the group members started to really increase. From there, we started building another base, Argonath. Today, I'm still a part of both groups, the Last Templar and the Spawn Masons, and whenever I get a chance, I take part in whatever activities both of them are doing at the time. If you're debating on whether to join a group on 2B2T, I'd say do it, because chances are, you'll do better off that way.